Alright, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. Now, UFC Fight Night YADONG vs. Gutierrez takes place this Saturday. This is the last fight night of the year. After next week's pay-per-view, we will have an entire month off from UFC, which is very unfortunate, but regardless, we are here to do picks and a brief preview for every single fight on the card. I start with the first fight of the night and work our way up. I will try to go through some of the earlier ones a little bit faster so I can spend more time on the co-main event and the main event and things like that. So let's get started right away. The first fight of the night is Rayan Amanda, or Rayan dos Santos, versus Talita Ancelar. Rayan Amanda making her debut, coming from Invicta. She lost to Denise Gomez on the Contender Series back in 2020, August, I believe. Vast majority of her wins come by way of submission. Has quite a lot of experience compared to some girls who are making their UFC debut. Talita Ancelar, not nearly as much experience. She's only 4-0-1. Fought to a draw on her Contender Series fight back in September, which got her a contract somehow. 5 years older than Amanda, despite the lack of experience in MMA, and has a lot of grappling experience. I am going to go with Rayan Amanda here. More experience in MMA, most likely to do much better in the striking department and is adept enough on the ground. I don't think that she's going to be easily submitted. Moving up the card to Luana Santos versus Stephanie Agar. Okay, Luana Santos on a 3-fight win streak. Right now, finishing her debut opponent in Juliana Miller in the first round. Only 23 years old. Only one loss on her record, which was a split decision back in July of 2022 in LFA. Stephanie Agar, very inconsistent as of late and kind of throughout her entire career. She has quite a bit of UFC experience, and you don't really see a whole lot of big win streaks in there. She lost quickly last time out against Irina Alekskiva, which that loss almost immediately in the near future did not age very well. Irina Alekskiva was kind of exposed in her very next fight. She had a win over Ailin Perez right before that, who's okay and did just get a win very recently, but is not top level competition. And before that, she lost to Maria Bueno Silva, who, to be fair, is pretty goddamn good. Stephanie Agar is usually in trouble when fighting a woman who can either match her ability on the ground or be better enough on the feet to not really allow her to get it there. I think that Luana Santos is younger and hungrier, and while she doesn't have the same level of experience, because as I said, most of Stephanie Agar's career has been in the UFC, so she has been fighting better competition pretty consistently. I think that she's going to be good enough on the ground to not just get ragdolled and submitted, and I think that she has better striking overall in terms of technique and both power. And Stephanie Agar, as I said, she's very inconsistent. I wouldn't really feel comfortable picking her to beat really anybody at this stage in her career. So I'm going to go with Luana Santos to get the job done here. Moving up the card to Steve Garcia versus Melquizael Costa. Okay, I don't know how to say his name. Regardless, dude. This fight was supposed to take place last week. Got canceled and moved to this week. I picked Costa to get the job done here. As I said last week, I'm kind of going to stick with my pick. I will be picking Costa to win. Had a very tough debut opponent in Thiago Moises. He ended up getting submitted. I think it was late in the second round. But, I mean, fucking hell, dude. Thiago Moises is a hard fight for damn near any lightweight. And while Steve Garcia is extremely tough, he's got KO power, all that shit, I just think that Costa is a little more dangerous, a little more consistently, and I don't think that his first two UFC fights, because he did end up getting a bounce-back victory after that loss to Thiago Moises, which was a unanimous decision, I don't think that those are necessarily reflective of what he's capable of, and I think that he is a very dangerous individual. He's got a lot of finishes, he's got a lot of submissions, knockouts, good mix of both. So I'm going to go with Melquizael Costa, okay, to get a submission after I think he's going to hurt Steve Garcia on the feet, and I think that he finishes it off with a choke or something along those lines. Moving up the card, too. Hyun-Sung Park versus Shannon Ross. Shannon Ross is on a pretty bad skid right now, getting finished 3 fights in a row, 2 of them coming in the first round against guys that are good, right? Like Clayton Rodriguez is not shit. He's a good fighter, but these are not top-level competition. Park, on the other hand, is undefeated in MMA, appears to be an absolute killer on the road to the UFC, and then wins his debut in the actual UFC by rear naked choke. Park's got a mix of KOs and subs, and while he had a pro kickboxing fight, I have a feeling he's going to be trying to get this one to the ground relatively quickly. Shannon Ross, pretty goddamn good kickboxer despite what chin issues he may have or whatever it is. I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know if he got here a little late in his career and so his skills are not being reflected properly, or if he just can't handle the big show or what's going on, but you know, as I said, pretty talented striker, aside from the chin issue. I'm going to go with Hyun-Sung Park here to get a choke. I think maybe he sticks around on the feet for like a minute or so. I think he shoots. He manages to take Shannon Ross's back and strangles him to get him out of there. Moving up the card, to Song KENAN versus Kevin JOUSSET. Song KENAN, dude. The one to drop Mr. Magato Cherry, okay? Got a bounce-back victory after getting knocked out twice in a row, which one of them was to Ian Gary and one of them was to Max Griffin, if I'm not mistaken. And then he comes back and gets a win over Rolando Bedoya. So it's nice to see that he's not just totally fucking done here, okay? Kevin JOUSSET on a bit of a tear right now. 4-fight win streak. Got a finish in his UFC debut against Kiefer Crosby, who's an okay opponent. Usually wins by decision or knockout, which could potentially cause problems for him, although a lot of his knockout victories come by way of ground and pound, so I don't know how long he's going to be standing on the feet with Song KENAN. Song KENAN hits hard as fuck. The only problem is that he's a little predictable, he's a little telegraphed, and he's not the most sophisticated striker out there. Once he hit Ian Gary with that left hook, he tried to go back to it over and over and over again without disguising it or anything like that, was really loading it up, and it didn't work out for him. Do you know what I mean? So he's older, lot of fights, taking some, you know, good amounts of damage and shit like that, and while he is dangerous, he definitely poses a threat pretty much anywhere, right? He's got a mix, 9 KOs, 9 submissions. He's not bad anywhere. I just think that at this stage in his career, Kevin JOUSSET's going to be able to take him down, not get finished on the feet, not get hit with a big shot on the feet, or if he does get hit, I think he'll be able to recover, because Song KENAN kind of, once he hits you with something, if it works, he tries to go back to it over and over and over again, which allows you to kind of make the adjustment and not get hit by it again. So, you know, you do got to go back to 2017 in a fight promotion called Chin Woo Min to find a submission on Song KENAN's record, so it's definitely not his favorite, right? He doesn't necessarily want to be on the ground. I just think Kevin JOUSSET manages to get this one here. I don't know that he'll finish him. As I said, you got to go back a while to find Song KENAN getting submitted, but I feel as though Kevin JOUSSET will be able to, if he can't get the sub, he's going to have enough ground control time, do it just enough on the ground to do damage and win the rounds, get a unanimous decision victory or a late ground and pound stoppage, if anything. Moving up the card, 2, Jung Young Park versus Andre Muniz. This should be an extremely interesting matchup here. Jung Young Park, the Iron Turtle, dude, submission machine as of late, okay? Three rear naked chokes in a row, and all against pretty decent competition. He's got some wins that have aged pretty well also. Got a lot of UFC experience, and if you look at the guys that he's lost to, man, like, he's been around for a good while. So he's got 3 losses on his record, if I'm not mistaken. 2 of them, he was submitted. 1 was against Shavkat Rakhmonov, and this is back in 2017 in a promotion called Battle of the Nomads. So I'm not holding that one against him all that much, dude. We know how good Shavkat Rakhmonov is. Also, he got subbed to Anthony Hernandez, who, I mean, subbed to Adolfo Vieira. Anthony Hernandez, pardon me, is no fucking slouch, right? Those losses are 3 years apart. And then he was knocked out by RoboCop, who could honestly knock out fucking anybody. So I'm not holding that one against him all that much either. RoboCop may not be the best fighter in the world, but if he hits you clean, you're probably going to sleep. Andre Muniz, in my opinion, has looked like shit in his last 2 performances against Brendan Allen and Paul Craig. Very little cardio, and in both of those fights he was dominated in the area that he was supposed to be doing the dominating. And I remember being very surprised in his fight against Brendan Allen when he was doing better on the feet and Brendan Allen was doing better on the ground, when Andre Muniz is heralded as this like phenomenal fucking grappler, and then Paul Craig goes out there and basically dominates him start to finish, right? He also does not like to have to fight through any adversity whatsoever. I feel like Jung Young Park is going to give him that adversity, and I think it's going to cause problems for him. And I think if it goes past 5 fucking minutes, Andre Muniz is in real trouble. And I don't think that he has the power to flatline a guy like Jung Young Park, kind of like a RoboCop would. Do you know what I mean? And I don't think that he's going to be dominant enough on the ground to just sub or ragdoll Park. I think if it gets past the first round, as I said, you know, or if he has to fight through any adversity, I don't think he's the mental game seems to be a bit of an issue. He can't seem to like get himself back into the fight and just forget about what happened the round prior and shit like that. I am going to go with Jung Young Park to get himself another stoppage here with another rear naked choke after he makes Andre Muniz basically quit. Moving up the card, 2, Tim Elliott versus SUMUDAERJI. My bad, dude. All right. Tim Elliott, I'll tell you what, bad motherfucker, fought like a month ago, okay? Gave Muhammad Mokaev a very tough fight, in which it took the 3rd round, oh, pardon me, dude, for Mokaev to find the finish. Holy shit, okay? And also, I feel as though there were a few moments in that fight where if the ref didn't take Muhammad Mokaev's word for it, Tim Elliott may have actually ended up doing quite a bit more damage than he was able to, like some of those knees that were not illegal, okay? He's back fighting again, a young up-and-comer in SUMUDAERJI. I'm going to go with Tim Elliott to get this one done, honestly. SUMUDAERJI is lost by submission 5 times, okay? And he doesn't have a whole lot of submission victories, so it's not balanced out. Kind of makes me think he can be controlled on the ground, okay? Tim Elliott, That's how he vet checks, dude, right? Like, I think this fight could look similar to the Victor Altamirano fight, my bad. And Tim Elliott, while he's been subbed 6 times, he's also got like 6 or 7 submission victories. Those submissions come in a much longer career against much harder competition. So I think he's going to be able to get SUMUDAERJI to the ground. And I think that, as I said, it could kind of look like the Altamirano fight, where even if Tim Elliott's not able to get the submission, because it has been a while since he's gotten a finish, I think that he does enough to win these rounds. I don't think he's going to be hanging around on the feet with SUMUDAERJI, who's got a lot of fucking knockouts. Tim Elliott, he's hard to hit clean anyways, and he utilizes that to get the takedowns because that's what he, for the most part, wants to do. So I think that Tim Elliott's going to be a good vet check for this dude. I think he's going to control him on the ground, maybe expose a few holes, maybe even end up getting a submission victory. Who knows? As I said, SUMUDAERJI's been subbed quite a few times. Moving up the card too, Nasrat Haqparast versus Jamie Mullarkey. Nasrat actually on a bit of a win streak at the moment, which is nice to see. Sometimes he's a little inconsistent. Mullarkey, he's kind of coming off of a win, right? That I feel as though he maybe should have lost John McDessie, and that was in Australia. Obviously, hometown judging, it is what it is, dude. And then right before that, he had the knockout loss to Muhammad Naimov, who, not to be shitty, I don't think is all that good, okay? Haqparast has problems with guys that have legit knockout power, like Bobby Green, Drew Dober, and guys like this, right? Last decision loss was to Dan Hooker, who, if you remember that fight, Dan Hooker looked fucking phenomenal in that fight. So I'm not holding that one against him all that much. Dan Hooker sometimes is just, sometimes he looks so good, and then other times not so much. This fight was one of those times where he looked phenomenal. Haqparast has looked very good lately, in my opinion, against John McDessie and Quinones, who, by the way, Jamie Mullarkey, that fight that I said I thought that he should have lost, came against John McDessie. He struggled quite a bit, especially in the later rounds in that fight. So I feel as though Haqparast has been looking better recently. All of his recent losses have came to really highly ranked lightweights, right? Like Dan Hooker, like Bobby Green, like Drew Dober. Maybe not very highly ranked, but at the very least in the top 15. Okay, I'm going to go with Haqparast to get this one. Either by decision, most likely decision if I'm being honest, or a late knockout or TKO. Mullarkey's tricky, right? He's hard to hit sometimes, but he is hittable. His chin is there to be hit, and it's not like he's got the world's best chin. So I'm going to go with Nasrat Haqparast to get this one done. Moving up the card, Anthony Smith versus Khalil Roundtree. We are tearing through this fucking card. It is not the most exciting card, I'll say that, but who knows, it could be a sleeper. So let's not judge a book by its cover, boys, okay? Anthony Smith versus Khalil Roundtree. I don't fucking understand this fight whatsoever. I feel as though, I'm going to be honest, I feel as though Anthony Smith is on a self-sabotage path. I think this is going to be a brutal, brutal fight. Anthony Smith could prove me wrong, but I don't know. Okay, I'm going with Khalil Roundtree Jr. here, obviously. Anthony Smith has clearly declined majorly, in my opinion. Whether it's him not being focused on fighting, or just being old, or whatever the fuck it is, he does not look the same, okay? He barely squeaked by a Ryan Spann, who he absolutely fucking dominated and made look like an amateur just a few years prior, and I don't think it's because Ryan Spann improved all that much. Every time he loses, he has this excuse that he doesn't actually train with a real coach and shit like that. It's fucking annoying, okay? Ryan Spann's game is pretty basic. We know what it is. He's powerful, he's athletic, and all that shit. He is not the most sophisticated fighter in any realm. And to be quite honest, I feel as though the only reason Anthony Smith was able to pull that decision out of the fucking bag was very poor decision making on behalf of Ryan Spann, okay? If Ryan Spann had a little bit higher fight IQ, I don't think Smith would have made it out of that fight without getting finished. Anthony Smith's very clear gaping weakness are leg kicks, and not being able to check them or even see them to get his fucking leg out of the way. He just can't deal with them. Every single opponent he has faced, especially as of late, has had a lot of success with leg kicks. Khalil Roundtree Jr. is a fucking nasty kicker who's been on a tear, 4-fight win streak, only one of those being a questionable decision, by the way, against Dustin Jacoby, who, keep in mind, is a pretty world-class fucking kickboxer, okay? Not Anthony Smith. Not a guy who doesn't know how to check leg kicks. Not a guy who doesn't know how to deal with somebody like a Khalil Roundtree. A guy who fought in glory and has seen a lot of different styles of kickboxing. Anthony Smith is not that, okay? You don't get fucking Alex Pereira in Cornhuskers Fight Club, okay? You just don't. Could Smith try and grapple? Yeah, he could, maybe. But He's going to have to close the distance on this absolute savage who literally fights you like you mugged his fucking mom. Khalil Roundtree Jr. has no chill whatsoever. He's 0 to 100. And I remember the last time in the cage, I was freaked out because he was gyrating like a motherfucker. I thought this guy shoved one of the world's strongest vibrators up his ass or something because his titties were just shaking the whole fucking time he was vibrating. And then when the fight started, he continued to do it. And then he dominated. Okay? Also, he's only ever been subbed once. Back in 2016 against a guy who fights at heavyweight, Tyson Pedro, right? Tyson Pedro's a big fucking dude, okay? I don't think Smith is just going to be able to manhandle and sub him, kind of like he was able to do to Ryan Spann the first time they fought, because I just don't think that Smith really has that in him anymore, you know? Unfortunately here, because as annoying as Anthony Smith can be and as delusional as he can be, I don't like watching guys get injured. I think that we're going to see a leg injury here, which I think might even be the best case scenario for Anthony Smith, because then he doesn't have to get completely fucking brutalized for as long as I think he would. I think that, right, like he broke his leg in the Magomed Ankalaev fight. If you remember that, I feel as though we could see something similar like that happen, whether it's him trying to check a kick or just eating a leg kick or a nasty oblique kick does something to his knee or something along those lines. I really think that I don't understand the thought process of Anthony Smith taking this fight, if I'm being brutally honest, man. You have struggled so much with leg kicks and you fight, and then you, on short notice, say, I'm going to fight Khalil Roundtree Jr. I just don't fucking get it, dude. It's very strange to me. This is why I said when I first started talking about this fight that I feel as though he's on like a self-sabotage path here. He just wants to get fucking so brutalized that somebody, his family, his friends, somebody tells him to fucking retire. Because Michael Bisping just keeps telling him he's fine. You know what I mean? He's admitted he's got a problem with leg kicks. And he goes, let me fight maybe the best Muay Thai fighter in the fucking 205. Insane to me. Okay? But as I said, he's injured his leg before in a fight. He's not getting any younger. His bones aren't going to be getting any denser. His fucking muscles aren't going to be getting any stronger. And he hasn't shown any signs whatsoever of addressing the leg kick issue. So, going with Khalil Roundtree Jr. here. I think it'll be a TKO. Unfortunately, I think it'll be an injury. I hope that that's not the case, but I have a feeling, man. So, a TKO from leg kicks, I guess. Moving up the card to the main event. Song Yadong versus Chris Gutierrez. All right. I gotta go with Song Yadong here, man. I don't have a whole lot to say about this. The dude has been a fucking menace lately. Absolute menace. Only loss since 2021 was to Corey Sandhagen. Doctor stoppage, by the way. That was a very crazy, tough, awesome fight to watch. And when he was kind of losing, it was still very competitive. And we know how good Corey Sandhagen is, okay? Chris Gutierrez is good, and he's fun to watch, but I feel like his finishing ability has severely diminished since a little step up in competition, right? I know Pedro Munhoz is not easy to finish, but he wasn't able to do a whole lot against him. You've just seen, since he's started fighting guys that are higher ranked, decision, you know, shit like, you know, Frankie Edgar is, I mean, Jesus Christ. Either way, he doesn't really like taking damage a whole lot either. He kind of has a bit of an issue fighting through adversity, or at the very least, that's kind of what I got from the Pedro Munhoz fight. I know Pedro Munhoz is probably a very frustrating opponent to fight because you can hit him with basically anything, and the guy's not going down. Do you know what I mean? So, I don't think he's going to be able to just flatline Song Yadong here, especially not since, you know, he hasn't been able to finish recent opponents. And I think that if Song wants to get the fight on the mat, he can probably get it there. You know, he looked like a fucking animal against Ricky Simón in literally every single aspect of MMA. The one area where I thought Ricky Simón might have the edge was the grappling department. I mean, the guy he choked out Merab. Do you know what I mean? And I know that it was under weird circumstances, but he did. He still choked him out. Merab was asleep. I didn't realize how fucking good he was, dude. He's getting better, right? Which makes sense. He's only 26 years old. Do you know what I mean? So I'm expecting Song Yadong to continue to improve every time we see him. And I think, like, Chris Gutierrez, not necessarily a step down from a guy like a Ricky Simón, but I don't think it's a step up. So I think that Song Yadong's going to be able to handle him relatively easily. I'm going to go with Song Yadong to get a TKO stoppage via ground and pound, probably in the third round or something like that. The guy, as I do, just a fucking menace. He's been looking phenomenal. I would actually be very interested to see a Corey Sandhagen rematch. I'd be very interested to see the initial fight, Song Yadong versus Petr Yan. I think that he has a good chance against a lot of these guys. Very powerful, very good wrestler, good grappler. His striking is getting better every time. It's not as basic as it once was. It's not as unsophisticated as it once was. He looks fucking good, dude. So I'm going Song Yadong over Chris Gutierrez. And, you know, this was a short notice opportunity for Gutierrez. Maybe that'll help him a little bit. I don't really think so, but regardless, Song Yadong get the job done. TKO round 3. Ground and pound. Anyways, dude, that's it. Like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you at the next video. Bye-bye.